Hi, my name's Sam, and I've just decided to do this video because I get the feeling that there are other parents out there who have experienced a similar or the same thing as me. My daughter came back to live with me after living with her father for 11 years in November 2018. Eating and drinking loads. Oh, growing teenager, just brush it off, brush it off. Got to about April 2019 and things started getting quite extreme. Her eating and drinking was getting ridiculous. I just brushed it off to the fact that because she could get away with it, she felt like she could. Anyway, we carried on through to about May when I started getting a little bit more concerned. I took her to the doctors and they found glucose in her urine. So they then referred us for blood tests. Now, my daughter is autistic, she's 15, and even though she'd never been ill, like really ill, so she'd never really had to go see a doctor for any sort of reason, never had to have tests done, anything like that. So this was all totally alien to her, obviously. She got referred for blood tests. I took her up to our local A&E department because they do blood testing up there. They didn't do them straight from the surgery. And she's really needle phobic, which came as a surprise to me because obviously with never having the fact that she'd never been ill enough to have any tests done or anything like that, it's a bit odd. But anyway, she had 4 or 5 attempts of going up there, but every time with such a performance, they turned around and they said, "Oh, we won't do a blood test off her." So again, they gave us a phone number for pediatrics department, which I couldn't get hold of. Went on holiday, come back, start getting into like August, and things were getting progressively worse. I started, because of the amount she was eating, I was hiding snacks. I was trying to restrict the amount of food she was eating because it was just bizarre. She was eating more than myself and my husband put together, and we're not small people. We're not overly large, but we're not small people. And she'd come home from school and she'd fill up this cup here, which, as you can see against my face, is quite large, and she'd stand there and guzzle it down within a minute, like straight down, like extreme thirst sort of thing. Like not right at all. We're going through about 10 to 12 bottles of squash a week. I tried hiding the neat bottles of squash and just leaving out ready diluted squash, but then we'd end up going through it twice as fast because she was just knocking back the bottles. Not out the bottle, but using this cup, it would just be one after the other after the other. Went back to the doctors. They said, well, there's nothing we can do until we get the blood test and blah blah blah. Anyway, we go into September, and I remember this one particular day, well, evening, I got home from work. She drank 12 cans of some cherry Pepsi, one after the other. She drank a litre of squash, like literally straight after that, and she was still looking for more. It was only then that I realised that the amount she'd been eating and drinking, like, and this is all like extreme high sugary stuff, that she wasn't gaining any weight. If anything, she was losing it. Again, set off alarm bells. Because of her autism, she's got a social worker from local authority disability team. I contacted her and I said, look, I need help. I can't get hold of the paediatrics department to get her blood taken. The regular haematology department won't touch her because she keeps having anxiety attacks. She won't even go in the room, and she creates and they just won't go near her. I said, but something needs to be done. She said, okay, hang on, leave her with me. She contacted her paediatrician, because even though she's 16, she's still under a paediatrician until she leaves school at 19. And next thing I know, then I had another phone call saying that they were going to ask the school nurses to have a look at her. So I was like, okay, fine. Went on my way to visit my granddad, who at the time, he's no longer with us, but at the time he was on a dementia assessment ward in our local hospital. I literally parked up, went in, walked up and down the corridor with him a few times, which was quite a nice, no, it wasn't even a nice distraction because dementia's horrible. But it distracted me enough that I was worried, but I wasn't, constantly thinking about it. I then felt my phone going off because I kept my phone on silent. So I left him in the day room, went off the ward, saw it was the school, rang the school back, and they said to me, we've tested Maxine's urine again, and as well as showing a high level of glucose, it's also showing ketones. I know from when my stepmom was still alive that ketones is not a good thing. So I said, okay, well, I need to take her to the hospital then. Shall I just take her straight to the hospital? And he said, oh no, she's gone home on the school bus. She's a little bit concerned and a little bit hectic because I did try doing, the nurse, this is now, said she tried doing a finger prick on her and she wouldn't take it. She wouldn't let her do it. So anyway, I went straight home from the hospital then. Waited for her to come through the door. Immediately as soon as she got through the door, she was eat, drink. It's like, oh God, here we go. So I had another phone call off the nurse who'd referred back to my daughter's paediatrician, and she said, okay, we'd like you to take her straight into the Heath. I was like, right, okay. I knew what they were going to say. I knew it. I'd had an inkling for months. So we went into the Heath. They tried doing the finger prick test on her. No, she wouldn't have none of it. So they stuck that gel on her hands, on the top of her hands, to make her hands go numb. And so we sat there then for another 2 hours. So she got home at about 4 p.m. By now it was about 9 p.m. She was starting to get really stressed, anxious. They told her nil by mouth. She was starving, really, really hungry. She wanted a can of Coke. She really hungry. You'd think she hadn't eaten in days, the way she started creating. So she started getting quite upset by this, wound up. I started feeling guilty. So, yeah, they managed to get her back in the room then. She saw what they were going to do. She ran out of the room and up to the top of the corridor. With it being a children's assessment unit, the doors are locked, luckily. Managed to get her back down to the room. So there's me and a doctor and two, I think they were nurses. I'm trying to distract her every which way possible. By now we'd locked the door, so there was no way of her getting out, which wasn't doing me any favours because it's quite a small room and I don't like being stuck in small rooms. So anyway, it took me, two nurses, gently restrained her, as gently as we could, to get the blood sample out of her. Doctor done it. Little madam turned round as soon as they done it, and she said, "Oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought." I was like, "Oh, really? You could have said that a couple of hours ago." So by now it was getting on to about 9:45. A couple of minutes later, the doctor come back in, talking to Max. I said, "Okay, you're gonna have to wait here a minute." The doctor asked me to go in I'm still quite emotional over this because you don't expect these things to happen. She called me into the next room. I knew straight away what she was going to say. I knew it. She said, unfortunately, it will mean her having to have regular daily injections, and with her needle phobia, this is going to pose a little bit of a problem. I felt awful. I blamed myself, but then I realised, type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. It's not, contrary to popular belief. I mean, a lot of people get type 2 and type 1 mixed up. So, but I knew type 1 it's just one of those, it just happens. And I felt awful because it was like, I was calling her all the names under the sun for being greedy and selfish, drinking all our squash, leaving them for a little brother and then for anyone else in the house, hiding snacks, taking snacks, just being, I just thought she was being greedy for the hell of it, and the fact that I was hiding these things from her, I just felt insanely guilty. I mean, she couldn't help what she was doing. She was only doing it because her body was telling her to do it. And I just felt awful. I blamed myself. Like, even though I knew it was nothing I'd done, I still blamed myself, which you shouldn't really. And then it's like, oh my God, I've gone from being responsible for keeping my daughter alive to literally being responsible for keeping her alive. Quite terrifying, really. I felt quite mean then as well, because I said to the doctor, I said, I'm going to go and collect some stuff for her from home. And then I said, it's okay if I grab her a McDonald's, because she must be hungry now. She said, yeah, that's fine. So anyway, I went outside. My first instinct was to call my mum. I couldn't do that because she was on holiday in America. I really wanted to call my mum. I mean, you'd think at 33 years old, you wouldn't want to call your mum, but the first person I wanted to speak to was my mum. It's like, yeah, so I went home, got her stuff, got her McDonald's, and took her back to the hospital. I gave her a McDonald's just as she went to bite into a burger. The nurse said, no, you've got to have insulin first. Oh, the face dropped. I was like, oh my God, I've just teased her with food again. Horrible. Again, made me feel guilty. Nothing I could do about it. And yeah, ever since then, I mean, she's done really well with herself. I mean, the whole initial weighing her food, making sure that I'm taking note of the amount of carbs she's eating to give her the right injection, and just generally monitoring everything. I mean, she's taken it on so well. I mean, she's gone from being needle phobic to actually doing her own injections herself, and she does all her finger prick tests herself, and she's just really good with it. But yeah, I still feel guilty, and it still eats me up. But I know I done what I could. There's nothing else I could do about it. I just done what I thought was the best thing at the time. What I just want other people to know is, you're going to, but don't blame yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. It's just one of those things. You can't see it. Well, you can see it coming, but if you're around someone on a daily basis, you don't notice little things. But then when it gets to the extreme stage, and if you do what I done, where I started thinking, oh, she's just being greedy and then hiding everything. I mean, I just felt so guilty about it all. And then you face the really judgmental people, where they get, whispers of, oh, she was in hospital, da 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 da. And they're like, and their automatic reaction as soon as you say, oh, my child's been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes is, oh, well, maybe you should have sorted her diet out, been a little bit more careful with her diet. And it's like, type 1 diabetes isn't caused by diet issues. It's an autoimmune disease. It diet doesn't, no, it's nothing to do with it. It's nothing I've done. It's nothing any of her family have done. It's just something, it's just happened. And then that makes you feel worse, because then you start thinking to yourself, oh, well, what if there is a slight chance that I've caused this to happen? And but yeah, I mean, September, we're into January now, so we're like 4 months down the October, November. Yeah, we're 4 months down the line now, and the change in her is amazing. I mean, she's put on weight. She's not eating as much. Where we were going through 10 to 12 bottles of squash a week, we're now only going through like 2, maybe 1.5. And the difference in her altogether is amazing. She actually gets up in the morning. She's not waking up all hours of the night to go to the toilet all the time. And the difference is amazing. It's but what I would like to say to everyone is just don't blame yourself. I mean, it's easier said than done, and it's hard not to blame yourself, but just don't. Just, there's nothing can be done. Well, apart from helping to live with it. Yeah. Right, that's all got to say for the moment. I'm really happy with the fact that HB1C, I think it's called. See, I get so many numbers now and stuff. It's really hard to focus. When she was first diagnosed was 158, and we went for a check earlier on this week, and she's now down to 46. which is like amazing because the hospital say they aim to get you down like 50%. So she's done really well. And yeah, so if you're going through something similar, all I can say is just don't blame yourself. Just, yeah. Thanks for listening.